The story begins with Lin Chu, who was framed by his coworkers and was fired from the company where he worked in. Lin Chu ignorantly signed a huge amount of money for some projects that was fake. It all leaked out and the perpetrators all pointed accusing fingers on Lin Chu. Lin Chu was upset because he knew he had put his all into the company for 9 years. Lin Chu promised to retaliate against the perpetrators in any way he could once he realized what had happened. While being fired from the company, he ran into his ex-girlfriend Shin Mo, who happened to be the Shin family's eldest daughter. She immediately rehired him and let go of his co-workers. The previous breakup was devastating for me. As long as you agree, we can hold a wedding at any time, she said, holding Lin Chu. It all happened so quickly and unexpectedly. Lin Chu readily agreed, though he was skeptical. On the day of the wedding, he was swept out by his wife, who called him a cheat, and he returned to his residence looking more confused than ever. While going back home, he was talking to himself, saying that he knew that all was very sudden to have happened. He blamed himself for being such an asset. On getting to his residence, he was frantically asked for a kiss by a glamorous stranger. The moment his lips touched hers, he felt a torrent of water rushing into his body. A month later, he woke up again at his own funeral. There were more than 10,000 strangers' memories in his mind. When he awoke, he was surrounded by people who mostly called him a zombie. He ran into his father-in-law, who directed him to a room. Shen Mo was dissatisfied because she believed her father was using her marriage for political purposes. Shen Mo's father was equally perplexed. He believed that what had occurred was the resurrection that everyone had been talking about. Lin Chu had the ability to read people's minds and thoughts after his resurrection. He possessed the ability to see through the information hidden behind each item. A maid came in to serve him and became irritated by how much he ate. Lin Chu noticed how she was staring at him and immediately read her mind. He asked her if had ever gone a week without eating, let alone a month. The maid was astounded that he knew what she was thinking inside. Lin Chu asked her to feed him to even the odds, which irritated his father-in-law and uncle. His father-in-law requested that a speaker be brought in, and it was discovered after several consultations that someone had instilled a lot of spiritual energy in Lin Chu's body, destroying his perfect aptitude for the Huaijin Dan power. His father-in-law wondered if there was any way to fix it or how much impact it was going to have on their original plan. Master had the potential to become a once-in-a-lifetime cultivation wizard, but with the aura destroying the meridians in his body, he doesn't even have the qualifications to practice the most basic Kai refinement. The speaker responded. Lin Chu realized Shen Mo was forced to marry him because of his father in ulterior law's motives. They didn't need anything else but his body. His father-in-law became enraged, and a heated argument erupted between them, resulting in Lin Chu leaving the house. Lin Chu agreed to leave the house, but only if Shen Mo accompanied him. Lin Chu's father-in-law was irritated because Lin Chu was attempting to foment a feud between father and daughter. Lin Chu's father-in-law wanted to use his powers on him, but he restrained himself. Lin Chu's father-in-law realized Lin Chu would be a waste of resources and time because he was now useless, so he ordered his guards to bundle him and ship him to Africa, where he would work until he died. Shen Mo arrived just in time to prevent him from being transported to Africa. Lin Chu possessed great latent powers but was unable to use them. He was simply ineffective. Back in Shen Mo's private quarters, Shen Mo asked Lin Chu if he could recall what happened before he passed out. Lin Chu was attempting to be clever, so she used her abilities to ask Lin Chu if he remembered what happened on the night of their wedding. Lin Chu knew he couldn't lie to her for fear of losing his manhood, and he couldn't tell her he has the ability to read people's minds, know their thoughts and items information, because he had a series of well-planned plans and wasn't willing to make any costly mistake out of love or negligence. Lin Chu told her about how he got home that night, and then a mysterious white-haired woman appeared, claiming to be his lover from a previous life. The mysterious white-haired woman then injected a large amount of aura into his body, causing him to faint. Shen Mo found it difficult to believe him, and Lin Chu asked her why. Shen Mo was disgusted by his question and told him about how she caught him lying with 4 exotic women in Longhao Hotel Room 1766 3 years ago. Lin Chu denied any knowledge of it, but Shen Mo remained skeptical because she witnessed it with her own eyes. She assigned Lin Chu to take care of all house chores, from laundry to washing and cleaning the house and dishes, and threatened to ship him to Africa if he didn't cooperate. Lin Chu overheard his father-in-law yelling angrily at Shen Mo for the 10 million counterfeit bill that their casino in Las Vegas had collected while he was doing the dishes. Lin Chu knew immediately that it was time for him to prove his worth, regardless of the fact that he was dubbed the useless son-in-law. He knew it was time to become wealthy and make the Shen family pay for what they had done to him. He used his abilities to retrieve the memory of the counterfeit expert and rushed down to find him. Lin Chu decided to take advantage of the current situation and become wealthy in order to make the Shen family pay for their sins. After arriving at the counterfeit expert's hideout at Shenjia warehouse, Lin Chu had gathered all of the necessary information and decided to go pick up the money. Lin Chu disguised himself by invoking the memory of a makeup artist. He went to see the money printing machine, looking more like a thief than a businessman. When he arrived, he encountered a thug who resembled himself, and he requested the money printing machine from the thug. The thug instructed him to go inside and look for the machine himself. The thug asked him how much he was with, but Lin Chu couldn't give him a reasonable amount. Disgusted by his response, the thug was about to kill kill him when Lin Chu decided to make a preposition. Lin Chu and the thug agreed that Lin Chu would produce 5 million counterfeit banknotes overnight. Lin Chu did it, and the thug was fascinated. The thug inquired about Lin Chu's name, and he replied that his name was Mr. Y. Lin Chu was brought to his boss, W.L.I. Dai, and his brother, W.L.I. Ming, and asked for a part-time job. Lin Chu and his boss, W.L.I. Dai, began negotiating. Lin Chu requested to become a partner with the boss, but the boss was not interested. Lin Chu later enticed the boss with the promise of producing 10 million fake yuan every day. That surprised the boss, and he liked it. Lin Chu requested a payment of 10 million real yuan before beginning work. Lin Chu's plan was to refund the money stolen from the Chen family, so the boss agreed to give it to him. Back at Shen's house, Shen Mo was seen talking with the maid about recovering the 10 million yuan that had been stolen from them. Lin Chu's fired co-worker walked in with a proposal to help refund the 10 million to make up for the casino deficit, but on the condition that Shen Mo divorce Lin Chu. Lin Chu stormed in and attacked his co-worker for referring to him as a scumbag. Immediately, a messenger arrived with a suitcase containing a note stating that a sum of 10 million yuan had been sent to Miss Shen Mo to relieve her. Shen Mo was perplexed and asked if she could be taken to Mr. Y. The messenger informed her that the money was sent to gain her trust and that if she wanted to see Mr. Y, she should be at Dorset Hotel, room 1766 at 3 o'clock the following afternoon. When Shen Mo arrived at the hotel and saw Lin Chu's impersonator with 2 naked ladies in the bed, she became enraged and began using her powers on the girls and the imposter. She was furious because she thought he was Lin Chu, but the imposter admitted that he wasn't Lin Chu but someone else. Lin Chu appeared on the screen in the hotel room disguised as Mr. Y, confirming what the imposter said. Mr. Y informed Shen Mo that the 3-year-ago incident was caused by an imposter, not Lin Chu. Mr. Jingying stormed in and demanded to know what was going on. Mr. Y informed Shen Mo that the imposter was Mr. Jingying, who had just entered the building. Mr. Y and Mr. Jingying got into a heated argument because he vehemently denied knowing about the accusation leveled against him. While that was going on, the ladies in the room approached Mr. Jingying and asked if he still needed their services. As he always did, Shen Mo became convinced that Lin Chu was innocent and approached Mr. Y to request his contact information. He refused to give it to her and advised her to treat her husband with respect. Lin Chu was about to meet his business partners and change into his Mr. Y disguise when Shen Mo worked in and requested that he stay in her room with her onwards. Lin Chu was cleaning the house when he overheard the maid Zhao Xiao who making a phone call. Looking agitated, he decided to summon the memories of lip readers to hear what she was saying. He discovered she was in financial trouble and decided to assist her. He called his thug buddy and asked him to transfer 200 to the maid's account in his name, Mr. Y. Lin Chu went to the counterfeit banknote group disguised as Mr. Y. While discussing with the boss and dining with him, Mr. Y accused the boss of intentionally tainting his drink in order to take him out. The boss realized the game was over and decided to take out Mr. Y. Unbeknownst to the boss, Mr. Y filled the air conditioning system with gas, which filled the room. Mr. Y then revealed his true intentions to the boss and burned the entire batch of counterfeit notes. Back at the Shen family's home, Lin Chu was approached by the maid, who asked if he knew where Mr. Y was so she could thank him profusely. While he was speaking, his thug friend arrived to retrieve his Mr. Y's sunglasses disguise and informed the maid that Mr. Lin Chu was Mr. Y. Lin Chu and his companion attempted to deny, but it was too late. Lin Chu decided to tell the maid everything about himself, but she was shocked. He led her to the trunk and showed her 2 men who were tied face down with ropes. He explained that those men were in charge of the counterfeit banknote group that defrauded the Shen family. The maid was still in shock, wondering how the scumbag, the useless son-in-law, had suddenly become Mr. Y, and she threatened to tell Shen Mo everything she had heard and seen. Lin Chu became enraged and threatened to take action if she revealed his true identity. Lin Chu forcibly kissed her while asking his thug friend to take pictures, then told Shen Mo that he was going to send the pictures to her and tell her how her maid seduced him. Meanwhile, in Shen Mo's bedroom, Shen Mo asked Lin Chu why he was late the night before, but he couldn't give her a reasonable answer, so she summoned her maid and asked her why Lin Chu was late the night before. Her maid lied to her, claiming that she assigned him more housework. Shen Mo then handed Lin Chu her credit card, inviting him to her father's birthday party and asking him to get her father a gift. Lin Chu politely declined the gesture, stating that he could buy a gift for his father-in-law with his own money. Outside, the maid was seen in tears, accusing Lin Chu of forcing her to lie to Shen Mo for the first time in her life. Lin Chu tried to calm her down by explaining that the lie she told was in favor of Shen Mo, and that she would understand soon. The maid apologized to Lin Chu for how she had treated him in the past. He quickly forgiven her and asked if she knew what to get his father-in-law for his birthday. She mentioned a number of things, including how he has previously been obsessed with investment-related films and how he adores the popular actress Cheng Jing. With one look at her picture, he knew she was the love interest who appeared in his soul's memories when he was a film director in a previous life. When Lin Chu and the maid arrived at Cheng Jing's house, the maid inquired as to why Lin Chu chose to bring her there. Lin Chu explained that he took her for her cultivation power as well as to better understand his own cultivation power. Lin Chu went ahead and entered the house password when he arrived, and the maid inquired as to how he obtained it. Lin Chu told her everything he knew about Cheng Jing. In his previous life as a film director, Cheng Jing was his lover. He returned home one night after the day's work to find Cheng Jing in bed with Jing Ming. When questioned, she stated that Jing Ming coerced her. Lin Chu became enraged, and as he tried to figure out what had happened, Jing Ming pushed him off the roof and claimed he had committed suicide. After that, the news spread quickly, making Jing Ming extremely wealthy and Cheng Jing a successful A-list actress. Lin Chu and the maid entered, and Cheng Jing's reception was unwelcoming. Cheng Jing threatened to use her powers on them if they did not reveal their identities. After a long struggle to persuade Cheng Jing, she finally agreed that they were not deceiving her. She hugged Lin Chu tightly and begged him not to abandon her again. When Lin Chu returned home, the maid inquired about the lie he told Cheng Jing. Lin Chu revealed to her that he has the memories of 10,000 people and that he now uses them. He told her that his plan was to get rich by robbing the rich. His target was the 4 big families in Longcheng, Xin, Jing, Luo, and Zhao, and he was going to get all the money from the Jing family through Cheng Jing. He begged the maid to keep his secret safe, and vowed to always protect Shen Mo in whatever she did. Shen Mo's maid was not confident in him and told him that she would always go out with him at night to keep him from making costly mistakes, to which he readily agreed. Back at the Jingxi group office, Jing Ying's father was talking with a high school girl named Suwon about Mr. Y, the man who wiped out the entire counterfeit group. Jing Ying rushed in and interrupted his father, explaining that he needed hundreds of thousands of yuan to buy Shen Mo's father a birthday present. Jing Ying's father reluctantly gave him his credit card, and Jing Ying volunteered to take them to a friend of the anonymous Mr. Y, who happened to be Lin Chu. The maid entered Lin Chu's room and asked if he had prepared anything for his father and birthday laws the next day. Lin Chu was hesitant at first, but after the maid described how Ms. Shen Mo sat at his hospital bed for a month looking after him while he was in coma, Lin Chu changed her mind. He changed his mind and decided to get his father-in-law a gift for his birthday. Lin Chu brought a doll shaped like a formidable god to the birthday celebration the next day. During the celebration, Shen Mo's father stated that he needed someone to convince the actress Cheng Jing to betray the family and turn over the Sun Entertainment Group to the Shen family, and that same person would manage it. The majority of those present said it was an impossible task, but Lin Chu spoke on behalf of his wife Shen Mo and said she could handle it with a phone call. Everyone, including Shen Mo, thought he was insane. Jing Ming then set a trap for him. He was to call Cheng Jing right there and ask her to turn over, and if he couldn't, he was to kneel in front of everyone and apologize to his father-in-law for being such a scumbag at his birthday celebration. But if he did, Jing Ming would kneel in front of everyone and apologize to the Shen family. Everyone knew Cheng Jing was live selling goods and that she was not going to answer the phone. To everyone's surprise, the phone rang, and Cheng Jing answered it, agreeing to become a contract performer for the Shen family. Jing Ming was forced to kneel in front of everyone and apologize for his folly. Shen Mo's father later appointed Shen Mo as CEO of the Shen family's Sun Entertainment Group. Back at the Shen residence, Sister Suwon ran into Lin Chu while he was working and was about to strike him from behind, but was stopped by Lin Chu's previous life lover, who said that no one had the right to kill him except her. Sister Suwon had a conversation with Lin Chu's lover, who explained how Lin Chu acquired such a large number of memories. She injected him with a lot of aura in an attempt to make him remember her, but his body was fragile and couldn't handle it, so he passed out for a long time. Sister Suwon was fed up with the stories and prepared to fight. Back in reality, Shen Mo approached Lin Chu and expressed gratitude for what he had done for her during her father's birthday celebration. When Shen Mo asked how he met Mr. Y, he simply replied that he was a friend who wanted Shen Mo to treat him better. Shen Mo appointed him as deputy general manager of the Sun Entertainment Group, which she will co-manage. Back at the battleground, Sister Suwon couldn't harm Lin Chu's lover. She lost miserably to Lin Chu's lover, and Lin Chu's lover agreed to release her from the enchantment if she agreed to stop attempting to kill Lin Chu. Sister Suwon pretended to be Lin Chu's sister and whisked him away from Shen Mo for a chat. She described how a mysterious white-haired woman appeared to her and warned her not to him as her younger sibling because he was defenseless in her eyes. Lin Chu called her by her real name, Ryoko, and poisoned and forced her to eat an orange. After integrating with her body, the poison began to work by weakening her. It was now Ryoko's turn to be Lin Chu's younger sibling and obey his commands. Lin Chu made a deal with Ryoko to be his bodyguard in exchange for the antidote to the poison. Lin Chu went further by making Ryoko understand that he was going to give her all of the money she lost and also be her partner when he became the richest man in Longhao. Ryoko mocked Lin Chu's claim to be the richest man in Longhao. Ryoko decided to be his bodyguard after much persuasion, and Lin Chu gave her half the antidote. Ryoko took the antidote and swallowed it. When she was finished, Lin Chu teased her that the antidote would make her chest beat faster and cause her to have sex with him. Lin Chu informed her that she would be doing some things for him before he could give her the full antidote. Ryoko agreed, and they set out to make their plans. Back at the Shen group, Master Shen Qi was seen discussing humiliating Shen Mo when she takes over the Sun Entertainment Group. Shen Qi conspired with the group's directors to destroy vital documents and ledgers in order to make Shen Mo a novice and a fool. Jing Ming was seen at Cheng Jing's house, offering a 10 billion yuan reward to anyone who could capture Mr. Y alive or dead. Cheng Jing summoned Mr. Y and informed him of Jing Ming's plot plot against him. Cheng Jing also told Mr. Y how Jingming was constantly scolding and beating her for terminating the contract with him as he had ordered. Mr. Y promised to take action, but Cheng Jing was unwilling to lose him. She proposed that Mr. Y murder Jingming. Mr. Y became enraged at her audacity and recalled how Cheng Jing plotted with Jingming to have her previous lover killed because her previous lover was poor and Jingming was rich. Mr. Y told her how she forced Jingming to kill her previous lover by pushing him out the window and convincing everyone that he committed suicide, and how she's doing the same with him. Cheng Jing then proceeded to attack Mr. Y because he had exposed her, but Ryoko arrived in time to save him. Ryoko and Mr. Y kidnapped her and threatened her with death unless she carried out a plan for them. Shen Mo arrived at the Cent Entertainment office and noticed the accounts prepared for her were phony, revealing that they intended to make her a CEO in name only. She realized that everything was under Shen Qi's control and that she had to solve it. She immediately dialed Mr. Y, who confirmed everything that had happened regarding Shen Qi and his group destroying all ledger accounts. Mr. Y, unknown to Shen Qi, was aware of their amusing antics, and while everyone was celebrating Shen Qi's birthday, Mr. Y broke into the company's account and retrieved the original documents. Mr. Y sent Shen Mo the real ledger, and she once again had complete control over the Cent Entertainment group. Shen Mo came out and met with Director Roach. Director Roach responded rudely to her, but she still called his attention to the 5 million yuan that he transferred to a subsidiary account. She did not stop there. She also gave detailed explanations on more of the director's escapades. Director Roach couldn't believe how Shen Mo found out about them. He thought their tracks were properly sealed and hidden from her. He knew she was with the forged ledger, but how she came to know about all their antics in the company was a mystery he couldn't solve. Director Roach followed Shen Mo to her office, where he pleaded on both knees with Shen Mo, who threatened to call the cops. After a long hour of pleading, Shen Mo agreed to listen to his pleas but asked him to transfer all the money he stole from the company, as well as become a spy on Shen Qi for her, and to always report all orders given to him by Shen Qi to her. Later that day, Shen Qi was seen calling Ms. Cheng Jing and asking her to meet him alone the next afternoon at the Grand Hotel in Longhao. After hanging up the phone, Cheng Jing was seen naked with Mr. Jingming, attempting to seduce him and telling him that Mr. Y wanted to meet with him the following afternoon at the Grand Hotel. Shen Qi met Cheng Jing at the Grand Hotel at the appointed time the next day. It was about to get sexy when Cheng Jing asked him to put on a Mr. Y mask and robe. Cheng Jing became perplexed but decided not to irritate his love, believing that things were about to get hot and nasty. Cheng Jing told him that she was going to undress in the other room to make it more fun, and Shen Qi wasn't ready to make her angry, so he let her. Cheng Jing, on the other hand, secretly went to inform Jingming and his men that the dressed-up Mr. Y imposter Shen Qi was nearby. Cheng Jing was fulfilling Mr. Y's request by duping both Shen Qi and Jingming. The men received the signal as soon as Cheng Jing entered the room and began mercilessly beating Shen Qi before bundling him out. Lin Chu, unbeknownst to Shen Qi, was in the next room speaking and making sounds as if Shen Qi were the one speaking. He said a lot of things that enraged Jingming, resulting in more beatings on Shen Qi. While the beating was going on, some Shen Qi employees came in and stopped it. Jingming was perplexed as to how those workers knew Mr. Y, but the workers quickly clarified that the person they were abusing was their boss Shen Qi, not Mr. Y. It then dawned on them that Miss Cheng Jing had collaborated with Mr. Y to dupe them. A sound generator was discovered on the rope that Shen Qi was wearing, which had been given to him by Miss Cheng Jing, and they all knew Mr. Y was nearby, so they went in search of him. Sima Ti, a Shen Qi subordinate, came down during their conversation because he noticed Shen Qi was in trouble. Lin Chu was in the other room with the maid, and they both knew what had happened. Lin Chu couldn't think of anything to do, and the maid was equally clueless, as Lin Chu was about to invoke a magician's memory to create an illusion. The maid stopped him and told him that she was going to do something, and that he should be aware of what she was doing was for MS Shen Mo. The maid stripped naked and went straight to Lin Chu for sex. Lin Chu was perplexed but went along with it because, while they were kissing, Shen Qi's subordinate came in and found both of them and decided to use what he saw against Ms. Shen Mo. Back at Shen's house, Shen Qi summoned Lin Chu and asked where he was the previous day. Lin Chu tried to deny everything, but Shen Qi caught him and threatened to show the maid and him to Shen Mo if he didn't cooperate. Shen Qi instructed him to always spy on Shen Mo and report back to him on a regular basis. Lin Chu had no choice but to agree. Later, the maid asked Lin Chu how things went with Shen Qi, and Lin Chu explained everything that happened between him and Shen Qi. The maid was upset because it was more trouble, and she pleaded with Lin Chu not to bring up their sex escapade again, and Lin Chu promised not to. Lin Chu suddenly felt bad about not having a spiritual power and announced that he would change the way he went out to reduce the chances of encountering powerful cultivators. He decided to start writing novels and serializing web articles under the pen name Mr. Y. He stated that he was going to write a composition about amassing wealth throughout different dynasties. Lin Chu said that it would contain some of the most advanced knowledge in the world, and the maid liked it and bought the idea. Finally, he was going to call the novel The Path to Conquering the Whole World. Lin Chu made the decision to summon the memories of multiple souls at the same time and gradually construct a palace of memories. He combined the memories of a poison expert weapons manager in order to create dangerous poisoned weapons. boss, Sima Ti, the guardian of the Shen family, came in while he was talking to himself, luring Lin Chu to become friends with him. He invited Lin Chu to join the Prodigy Society, where he could meet and see other talented and skilled people like himself. Sima Ti informed him that the initiation would take place in 3 days and that the membership fee would be 1 million yuan. Lin Chu felt cheated out of a large sum of money, but lacked solid evidence to back it up, so he kept his cool. Ms. Cheng Jing was later seen pleading with Mr. Y that she had nowhere to go. The Jing family has rejected her. Her bank account has been frozen, and her residence has been seized. Mr. Y told her that she could work for Shen Mo and that half of what she was paid would be his, and she had no choice but to agree, becoming Mr. Y's human ATM. Ryoko requested that Mr. Y give her the remaining pill because she had finished assisting him with his nefarious work. Mr. Y readily gave her the remaining pill, which she took despite her reservations. Mr. Y told her after she had taken it that he had never poisoned her in the first place. It was all a ruse. Ryoko became enraged and threatened to kill him, but when Lin Chu whistled, she found herself unable to summon her powers. Mr. Y informed her that the pill she was using contained force spirit dispersion, which temporarily disables spiritual powers, and that if he whistled, her spiritual powers would vanish for 5 minutes. Ryoko became enraged with Mr. Y and vowed to kill him if he ever touched her. Mr. Y drew her into his arms and kissed her on the lips. That enraged her even more. Mr. Y then told her he had touched her, kissed her, and was now asking her what she was going to do about it. Ryoko vowed that she would make him her pet sooner or later. Later, Shen Mo was seen conversing with Cheng Jing. Shen Mo asked her if she knew who Mr. Y was, but she refused to discuss it. Shen Mo had a gut feeling that Mr. Y was Lin Chu and she wanted to ask him. Ryoko, on the other hand, walked into Lin Chu's bedroom and threatened to reveal his dual identity to Shen Mo if he didn't give her the last pill. She then tried to force herself on Lin Chu, who desperately tried to push her off. And while all of this was going on, Shen Mo walked in and caught both of them in an awkward position. Lin Chu pleaded with Shen Mo to believe him that their erroneous position meant nothing. Shen Mo believed him and inquired as to whether he was Mr. Y. Lin Chu tried to deny it, but Shen Mo was unfazed. Ryoko attempted to intervene by insulting Lin Chu, but Shen Mo silenced her. Lin Chu stood by Shen Mo when she was younger and her parents forced her into a political arranged marriage. A very wealthy man arrived and offered her parents a large sum of money in exchange for her dropping out of school so he could marry her. She described how everyone at school opposed their event, but only Lin Chu stood by her side, unconcerned about getting in trouble with the Shen family. She remembered how Lin Chu made her college days memorable, and how she enjoyed every minute of it with him. She remembered how no one ever forced her into another marriage because she had Lin Chu by her side. She also recalled losing her virginity with him while celebrating her 20th birthday. All of this was still fresh in her mind, and she knew that Lin Chu was the only person who could stand by her against all odds. Lin Chu pretended to be unaware of everything Shen Mo said and claimed he wasn't Mr. Y. Shen Mo was still not convinced, and she inquired as to where Lin Chu was on the day Shen Qi was beaten by Jing Ming. However, Lin Chu denied being Mr. Y. Shen Mo threatened to summon her maid, despite the fact that she knew her maid would never lie to her. Lin Chu realized he needed to think quickly or his plan would fail. He immediately enlisted the help of a makeup artist to help make the maid look like Mr. Y. While Shen Mo was speaking with Lin Chu, she noticed a maid dressed as Mr. Y and approached him, asking him to tell her who he was. Lin Chu, on the other hand, was in with a voice control remote recorder and was speaking to Shen Mo through the maid. He duped Shen Mo once more by telling her that Mr. Y was always protecting her because he loved her. The maid quickly slipped away after saying it, and Lin Chu ran out, acting enraged by what his Mr. Y imposter had said. He pretended to cry and accused Shen Mo of abandoning him for Mr. Y, which broke Shen Mo's heart. Shen Mo tried to persuade him that she loved him and that she trusted him with everything she had. They walked hand in hand to the Sun Entertainment headquarters to begin work. When they arrived at the office, she handed over the ledgers that Director Roach had given her after being assisted by Mr. Y to Lin Chu to see if he could find anything suspicious in them. Lin Chu immediately recalled a professional auditor's memory, and he immediately noticed that there were more miles quietly transferring assets within the company. They tried to hide their tracks, but an expert like Lin Chu caught on quickly. Surprisingly, Director Roach handled all of the accounts. When Shen Mo asked if he had noticed anything unusual, he denied it, but Shen Mo was unconcerned. Lin Chu politely excused himself in order to assume his disguise as Mr. Y. He and Ryoko had an affair with a worker who happened to be Director Roach. Lin Chu questioned him, but Director Roach flatly refused, and he was thrown down from the company's roof. Ryoko used her powers to lift him back up while he was falling through the roof, and he was terrified. Mr. Y inquired from Director Roach concerning who planted all those moles and if he belonged to any group in the Shen group. Directions Roach responded by saying that he knew Mr. Y must have suspected Shen Qi, but Shen Qi was only his superior, and the real culprit was Jing Ying. Mr. Y was curious to know how it all happened, and Director Roach went on narrating, and he said asking Lin Chu if he had heard about Jing Ming working at the Shen family group headquarters to pursue Shen Mo. He said that before Jing Ming got fired, he infiltrated their resources department and planted spies throughout several Shen family companies. Director Roach went on to say that they were told of their mission separately after a single interaction so that he wouldn't be aware of the other infiltrators. Mr. Y was perplexed by the recent discovery and decided to take matters into his own hands. Back at Shen's house, Lin Chu had finished writing and published his novel, The Path to Conquering the World, and was waiting for readers' feedback. The maid entered Lin Chu's room and inquired about his plans for dealing with the current situation with Jing Ying. Lin Chu felt helpless because Jing Ying was extremely cautious about this movement. Kidnapping him would be difficult because he moved with a lot of security. Lin Chu investigated the powers of Jing Ying's securities and asked Ryoko if she could combat them. Ryoko stated that she could, but there was no guarantee that she would win. Lin Chu decided to use Shen Mo as a bait to get Jing Ying, so he went into Shen Mo's room and found her sleeping. He quietly took her phone and sent a text to Jing Ying inviting him for a meal. Meanwhile, Shen Mo was wondering why Lin Chu was late yet again. She needed him. She closed her eyes and waited for him patiently. Shen Mo pretended to be asleep the entire time, expecting Lin Chu to touch her, but he didn't, so she slept angrily. Lin Chu, the maid, and Ryoko were at the restaurant where Jing Ying was to meet Shen Mo the next day. The maid was skeptical about the whole thing, so she asked Lin Chu how certain he was about the whole thing. Lin Chu told her that Jing Ying doesn't want to get into any trouble with the Shen's family, so he will not dare to hurt the Shen's family's son-in-law. The maid tried to absorb everything but was still unhappy with the overall plan, but she wished them luck. Ryoko was unconcerned because she was confident in herself. Ryoko had a feeling something was going on between Lin Chu and the maid, but she kept her cool. Lin Chu carried a wire in his jacket to record everything that happened during his conversation with Jing Ying. Jing Ying was surprised to see Lin Chu and was irritated when he entered. He informed Lin Chu that he was after Shen Mo rather than him, and he went to see Shen Mo. Lin Chu went on to say that he sent the message himself rather than Shen Mo because he wanted to talk to him. Jing Ying continued to bluff, and Lin Chu proceeded to play the voice recording of director Roach revealing their secrets on the day he fell off the roof. Lin Chu went on to ask Jing Ying if the entire plan had been initiated by Jing Ying's father. Lin Chu was eager for Jing Ying to admit it so he could record it. Jing Ying was upset and admitted that he had been planning everything for 5 years and that his father was unaware of it, as well as how he had been upgrading his powers in preparation for a day like that. Jing Ying prepared for a fight, his power level at its peak, and Lin Chu knew he couldn't even get close to him. Lin Chu was terrified and needed Ryoko's assistance in fighting Jing Ying. Jing Ying defeated Ryoko, and Lin Chu had no choice but to enter the battle to save her. Back at Shen's house, the maid rushed down to Shen Mo's bedroom to inform her of everything that was going on so she could go help Lin Chu. Back at the restaurant, Jing Ying was having a serious conversation with Lin Chu. Jing Ying confessed to Lin Chu that he had always despised him, that he was the one responsible for his dismissal from the company, and that it was his imposter who went in with the 4 exotic girls in the hotel in order to convince Shen Mo that Lin Chu was a scumbag, and, with no one to save him, he vowed to end Lin Chu's miserable life there and then. Lin Chu was on the verge of death when a mysterious white-haired woman appeared and asked him why he had resurrected. She said that she has seen that instilling all the memories and aura into him destroyed his core body, rendering him uncultivable. Lin Chu referred to her as a mysterious white-haired sorceress and asked if he was dead. She replied saying that she was not a mysterious white-haired. Her name was Eva. She further said to him there was no need to worry. She added saying that he was her love and he cannot die so easily, but if he doesn't remember who she was to him, that he was always going to keep on getting on the verge of death and that was going to be his punishment for betraying her. She noticed that he was very weak, but she was not supposed to always come out like that. She promised to help him in his current situation. However, she told him to sort through those 99 souls memories in him thoroughly and familiarize himself with all the memories daily, and then remember. She reminded him of their past life memories on how they frequently did dual cultivation seductively. Then, she struck Jing Ying with extremely powerful meridians, causing him to fall and crash into the walls. Jing Ying was perplexed as to how such might could emanate from him. He was bleeding profusely and was on the verge of death. Shen Mo walked in and went straight to Lin Chu, who was already unconscious. She dispatched her guards to look for Jing Ying, who bolted the moment he saw her. Shen Mo was trying to wake Lin Chu up by carrying him to her chest. She was in tears, thinking he was already dead. Ryoko. Lin Chu thankfully awoke, this time not alone, but with the ability to summon spiritual powers. He was now unstoppable. At the hospital, Lin Chu woke up, only to find Shen Mo at his bedside. He was surprised and also perplexed. At first, he thought he had been in a dream all along, but after checking out his powers once more, he found out that it wasn't a dream. It was real. He discovered that his aura had been restored after coming into contact with Eva, the mysterious white-haired sorceress. All this while, Shen Mo was lying with her head down by the side of his bed. The moment she raised her head up, she found out that he was wide awake and she was happy. She called Lin Chu her husband, and that got Lin Chu surprised because she has never called him that before. Lin Chu apologized for troubling her once again like he did before when he was in a coma a month ago. He told her that he was just trying to get Jing Ying to confess something, but he never thought that Jing Ying was going to assault him the way he did. Shen Mo told him that he did not need to explain to her anymore. She said that the maid Xiao Hui already filled her in on everything. Shen Mo couldn't hold herself back anymore. She rushed and kissed him on the hospital bed. When they were done kissing, Shen Mo thanked him profoundly for putting himself in such a danger for her and her family. Once again, she said that she was relieved to see him fine but was definitely going to make sure sure that bastard Jingying was not going to get away for daring to bully her husband. Lin Chu advised her to be cautious, that the true Jingying was not as simple-minded as he appears to be. When Shen Mo left, Lin Chu noticed that when he was kissed by Shen Mo, his spiritual powers appeared to have increased tremendously. Lin Chu noticed that the nurse in his ward was closing his curtains in a suspicious way, and he asked the nurse what she was doing. The nurse replied saying that she obviously wanted to give him an injection. When she turned, Lin Chu noticed that it was Ryoko dressed up as a nurse. He asked her what she was doing there and hoped she wasn't going to attack him. He threatened that he was going to blow the whistle on her if she should try anything funny or stupid. Ryoko told him not to be scared, that she had only come to heal his injuries with vital energies. Lin Chu asked her why she was going to do something so kind as that for him, because he was getting the feeling that she wanted to take advantage of his current situation. Ryoko replied saying that she wanted to just repay him for his kind gesture in saving her life from Jingying, but she was going to leave if he doesn't want her around. Lin Chu immediately apologized to her and asked her not to leave. He further asked her if she could find a way to warm him up while he was in bed because he felt cold. Ryoko told him not to speak any further. She asked him to unbutton his shirt so she could use her aura to warm up his body. Lin Chu did so and felt very comfortable. Lin Chu liked it very much and felt as though he could lie down like that for days without any disturbance. Ryoko instantly noticed that Lin Chu's body was devouring her aura speedily. Lin Chu also remembered that Eva the white-haired sorceress did same thing with him and had had his spiritual powers restored. Just with a few pats, Ryoko noticed that Lin Chu's Huaizin's core body was back and she asked him to use his Danshin to return the energy he stole from her. Lin Chu did as she asked, and when that was going on, Ryoko noticed that her cultivation base had drastically strengthened because she was having a dual cultivation with Lin Chu, who had a Huaijin core body. Ryoko knew that with Lin Chu, she could finally reach her peak in the nascent soul stage. However, the power being transmitted from Lin Chu to her was very slow. She noticed that what she needed was a direct skin contact, and she has to widen the contact area to maximize the spiritual power she absorbs. She asked Lin Chu to take off his clothes so he could transfer the spiritual powers to her using a faster method. Lin Chu was surprised at what she said. He asked her if it was all a joke, knowing fully well that he was married to Shen Mo. Ryoko feigned ignorance and said that she was simply taking off her clothes to fully embrace him. She teasingly asked if people that practiced martial arts can be restrained by common customs and unnecessary formalities. Lin Chu asked her if there was a point to what she was saying, and she replied saying that there was no way for them to transfer spiritual energy through the elixir fields faster. She further told him to remember that Jingying could return at any time, and if that happens, she must have the strength to defeat him, and that will be possible only if he agrees to help her reach her peak. Notwithstanding her explanations, Lin Chu still refused, and Ryoko decided to use her powers to take off his clothes. Forcefully, she hugged him and started the spiritual power transfer. She asked him to only transfer his powers and not squirm on her. When they were done, both of them were exhausted and worn out. Ryoko was lying naked on the hospital bed, and she told Lin Chu not to touch her anymore because she was weak and has taken enough. Lin Chu stood looking confused, thinking how he was completely drained after doing the power transmission for a couple of hours and still felt no change to his cultivation base. Sima Ti, the guardian of the Shen's family, worked in and misunderstood what happened. He found both Ryoko and Lin Chu naked, and he quickly thought they had sex. He went on teasing Lin Chu and also told him that he has a lot to learn from him. He told Lin Chu that it was time to go to the Prodigy Society, and that he was going to charge him 1 million yuan on dues. At the Prodigy Society, Lin Chu was identified as a scumbag and was welcomed. Lin Chu got confused and asked Sima Ti for an explanation. Sima Ti told him that at the society, everyone used a common and all code name must start with the Chinese character QI, meaning remarkable. For example, Sima Ti is called the thaumaturge because of his expertise. He explained that when he told the president the kind of person that Lin Chu was, she gave him the name scumbag because he was the biggest scumbag she had ever heard of. While they were talking, the president walked in. She was called Strange Love, and Lin Chu was surprised at her name because she doesn't look like her name. He asked if she had shown people some sort of different love, but he got no response from anyone. The president told him to go forward and kneel before their goddess so he could take his oath, because that was the first step in becoming a full-fledged member. On getting forward, Lin Chu was dazed and in shock. The president asked him what was keeping him, and he replied asking if they would allow him skip that veneration if he told them that the goddess right in front of him was his true love from a previous life. And that's how the first part of this man ends. Well guys, if you like this video and you want a third part, comment below with the word love. Also subscribe to the channel, hit the bell and like the video. But most important, leave a comment. Until the next video.